In a world of remakes and remasters,
Are we playing for
what was once sacred and cool has now soured and become lame.
Red?
Gone are the days of pods and cowabunga. Now is the reign of slurp juice and dabs. Kids these days don't even know how bad they've got it. Now it's up to the best generation to rise to the occasion and make a show that dares to go where a lot of other nerdy shows have already gone quite a bit. That's right. They're going to talk about it a lot.
Proposing that will be secret, but
Hello. How is everybody doing? Welcome to the show. The show is called Best Gen because we're all from the same gen and we happen to think it's the best, but we're very accepting of people of all ages. It doesn't matter when you were born, just as long as you can acknowledge that there's really nothing quite as satisfying as strangling a younger sibling with one of those springy line cables. So, yeah, it's best. It's Best Gen, the show where we complain about nerdy things, and it's book club. It's book club for nerds, and today we're going to be talking about the new show Obi-Wan Kenobi, and maybe if it doesn't take 6 hours to do that, we'll probably get to talking about Raised by Wolves season 2 episode 3. How is everybody doing tonight?
Fantastic.
So we have our regular Jacob Ironside in the chat already. Corwin, how are you doing? You're at home this time. You have a house.
I do. I have a home. I believe it or not, it's here. So they kind of switched up my schedule at work, so I'm no longer a night guy. I'm no longer a vampire of the night. I'm now I'm going to be an early bird, and so I've got to be up at 4 a.m. every morning. That sucks, but it means I'm home earlier. So silver linings.
And you've said you've got family over, so you might not be able to stay the whole time. So we'll make sure to pull up those articles you sent me before you go.
Sounds good.
And we're also joined by my brother David and a guy that David knows, who's just another Star Wars nerd who wanted to come on the show. Also named Jared, but we're going to call him Jared 2. And
excited to talk about Star Wars, guys. Just stoked.
Visiting in town from the land of the California. What's the tagline for California? I was gonna say it, and I realized I didn't know what it was.
The worst place on earth.
The land of the perpetual forest fires.
There you go.
Is that it?
I think there was a petition to rename it. I think it's the Golden State because the Golden State Bridge. But
the Gold Rush.
I thought, they were changing it to the Golden Shower State, right?
For San Francisco. Nice.
Yep. Or even I'm specifically even in Gold Country. So,
well, I was born in California, so I can't make fun of it too much. Well, I did leave, so
you didn't have a choice in the matter.
Why do so many people here in Utah love hating on California? And since I was raised in California,
we can't get into it.
It's like people in California love hating on Texas. People in Montana love hating on California. People from Nevada love hating on people from California.
It's called tribalism, Tanner. Get with the program. No, California is a beautiful state. I just wish, Yeah, we won't get into that. Well, we're joined by my friend Tanner, who's from California.
Hi.
How's it going?
Great. I'm half conscious, so I don't really have a great mind for rebuttal right now.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. Hey, teasing is the best medicine, I think.
Yeah, the annoyance comes from the students I teach who are all like 15 and 16 and
have never been anywhere other than here.
Yeah, other than their home and school. They're like, oh, California, oh, so, and it's like you do not have the brain to be nuanced about this, and you're just repeating what your parents heard from Glenn Beck last night. So shut up.
And honestly, half of the people at our own generation are just regurgitating things that they've heard said before by other people they agree with. Yeah. Like Alan said, it's some sort of like a tribalism or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I did live in San Diego for 3 months. So
about how long my wife lived there before we moved back. She was born there as well.
Yeah, I was in a very poor part of town. And Jared, we're joined by you too. The other no,
yeah, bro, come on, I was here first.
Not you.
OG Jared,
not you.
Mm-hmm.
How's everybody doing tonight? We're doing good. Everyone did your homework. You watched Obi-Wan Kenobi 1.
I didn't.
Watched Obi Kenobi 1 and 2.
I didn't know there was going to be 2 episodes.
Me neither.
But there's 2, and now there's only 4 left.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's weird choice.
They just released the trailer for Andor, which I don't know. It looks all right. But
yeah, I just filmed my blind reactions to the Star Wars celebration reveals, so we can talk about those. But yeah,
I've missed most of them. I saw Andor. I've heard a couple of the other ones, but not most of them.
Yeah, I haven't kept up on anything. I saw Andor. I saw the Jedi Fallen Order 2, which is now Jedi Survivor.
Yeah.
And there was one other thing I forgot about.
But anyways, they announced Mandalorian 3.
They announced season 3. Yeah, they also announced that they're already working on season 4, which I thought season 3 was season 4. So, but
we already had a 3rd season. It was those 2 episodes.
Yeah,
that's how long most of these seasons have been, right?
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I heard that Andor is planned to be 10 episodes, and they're already planning on a 2nd season of Andor that's also 10 episodes.
They said it was initially planned to be the longest Star Wars the Star Wars series with the largest number of episodes, but then the day afterward they announced they're already planning on cutting a few episodes.
Yeah. So it's like, come on, Obi-Wan Kenobi gets 6 episodes, and then Andor gets. I mean, Andor looked interesting. I'm open to it, but it's not one that I was really excited for. This show right here, Obi-Wan Kenobi, out of all the Marvel shows, out of all the Star Wars shows that they've announced and are working on and have been rumored, this is the one I was the most excited about.
Mm-hmm. They also announced the Bad Batch season 2, which I haven't watched the first one because I haven't finished Clone Wars. Bad Batch is just Clone Wars Part 2, but they can't call it. They can't call it Clone Wars because the Clone Wars are over, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I could have sworn that I had heard an official announcement of them canceling Bad Batch for something else, but
yeah, they released the trailer for the season 2.
I didn't see that.
Guess I was totally wrong.
Yeah.
The Andor looks fine except for the one shot of the rebels holding regular old AK-47s.
I didn't catch that. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's pretty lazy. I mean, yeah, most of the original trilogy guns were based on our weapons that they just glued a bunch of stuff to make them look sci-fi, right? Like Obi-Wan's blaster, I believe, is like a Luger, a Nazi Luger, with just stuff taped to it. You know,
Han Solo.
Sorry, Han Solo. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Come on, he's more civilized than that.
Yeah, it's like Obi-Wan.
I'm sorry, I make a mistake.
One time in the entire series.
First mistake I've ever made in my life.
That's true.
Long shot first.
Yeah. Anyway.
There's a shot with they're just holding regular old AKs, and I'm like, okay, put a little more care into it, Disney. Oh, there's a Chevy Tahoe in the background.
No,
What?
I think
thought
it's
that was
a Halo.
Oh,
Saying that it
They
was
said
probably a Chevy.
Yeah, I'll have to rewatch it and see if I can.
The Chevy Tahoe is in it's in Halo.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've
Lord,
heard
I'm
some
glad we're not.
interesting
I'm
things
so glad we're not reviewing that because I would have nothing but terrible evil.
Oh, did you see the finale?
Yeah.
I
I mean, I
I don't know if you guys have talked about it, but I did hear a theory that it had originally been conceived as a Mass Effect series that they then decided, oh, hey, we have this
own
IP
Halo.
that is more valuable, and we're going to slap Halo on it, whereas it
Probably.
makes more sense for the Mass Effect.
they've taken a massive dump on that franchise, which blows my mind because the largest video game franchise in history is Halo.
Mm-hmm.
They just screwed it, but
They also announced the Willow TV show, which I mean
Saw that.
the movie is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I would be excited for it, except if it weren't for Disney's track record right now. But I mean, and also you've got shoot, I just spaced. No. I literally just talked about him too. Well, the main actor, Val Kilmer. Yeah, it would be. He obviously can't reprise his role in the way that we would want him to. They might be able to like roll him around in a wheelchair, but
didn't they? Am I thinking of the wrong guy? Didn't they just get him back in Top Gun 2 though as well?
I heard he did have a cameo in Top Gun 2.
And I heard that it was surprising how much he did because they were expecting it to be nothing more than a little bit of it. I still haven't seen it yet. I'm actually probably going to go see it Tuesday or something like that. But
I've heard good things about Top Gun. I haven't seen the original yet, which I plan on doing, but I do want to see Maverick. So
that's right. You got rid of your Netflix. Yeah.
I did, and then David's daughter signed us back up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know how, because it should have asked for a password because we were logged out of it. But somehow she got back in on the Roku and reactivated your
interesting.
Martinez has cast Henry Cavill as Val Kilmer's character, which
I mean, never a bad idea to go with Henry Cavill.
Would he have the time though? I mean, it's a good idea, but would he have the time?
He's not getting work right now for some reason.
Yeah. Would he be the appropriate age to fit? Because Willow's aged up, whatever number of years. He'd be more like recasting for like a remake of in the same time period or whatever. I would think.
Yeah,
but other than that, I mean,
he's a bit. Yeah. He's obviously younger, but I mean, you can make up. I don't know. Or
they could CGI a mustache on his face, and then
that went wrong in Superman. No.
No, because currently he's currently filming a movie where he can't have a mustache, so the CGI one onto his.
There's a YouTube, you can look it up. I'd have to find it, but it's of the Justice League, and Superman's. They do a mustache on Superman, so they basically take the CGI off.
They put a mustache back on. Yeah, that was Corridor.
Back on, but they give him like muscles. Like so, the mustache. Every time he talks, the mustache is like flexing and stuff. It's super fun. Awesome. It's
Corridor Digital did a video where they put the mustache back on all of the shots with Superman in that movie. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it was.
Should we talk? Let's talk about Star Wars, guys. We saw the Kenobi. I will save my thoughts until after everyone's spoken.
Can I toss one thing in with regards to kind of what we were talking about with Andor versus Kenobi and all that? Because I had a buddy that brought up an interesting point that I think similar to Kenobi and Solo, they're both kind of ones where it's like it's an in-between story, and it's kind of a question of like, what's their intention? Like, what do they want to go for with this?
Well, they can't really go anywhere,
right?
Because he has to end up in the same place,
All in all, it's not something that bugs me too much. I'm able to enjoy the show as it is, but there's a piece of me that like I get that
the status quo cannot be changed.
Right.
Right.
But that's what makes Andor more
Interesting.
more exciting. Even though I was more excited for Kenobi because I'm just a slave for the nostalgia, I think Andor has a lot of potential because it actually can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
Because it's not like Solo or Obi-Wan where it's just showing a little piece of something that can't really lead to much of anything. So that also might be why it's intended to and will be a longer series. And as disappointing as it is that this may be short, at least for me who enjoyed it, it makes sense that because they can't do too much, you know. Yeah, that was my overall idea with that I want to toss in with that. So.
Yeah, adding to that too, I heard some information from Andor from some of the novels, and he's got some pretty interesting backstory. Like he was a separatist, grew up in a separatist family. Yep. So there's a lot of interesting.
Well, Disney would have to care about the novels to do.
That's what I'm saying. They have a history of not pulling from novels, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah. So I assume that I'm in the minority here. I didn't enjoy Kenobi, but I would love to hear what you guys thought.
I liked it. And I was thinking about it because you sent out an email earlier, or a text, Alan. I can't remember if it was an email or text that said I didn't really like it, yada yada. And I was thinking about it. Sometimes I think like we just put Star Wars, and myself included, we put Star Wars on such like a high pedestal. The fans do. We want something, but we don't know what we want. And so when they give us something that doesn't reach our expectations because we didn't have expectations in the first place, apart from they're way up here. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we want to go spoilers or not.
We're going spoilers. I do agree that a lot of people are overly critical.
I gotta point that way because I'm opposite. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, some people went beyond him.
Yeah.
I think that. So I just think that like I liked it. Was it my favorite? No, it wasn't my favorite. The first episode, I always give pilots the just the benefit of the doubt. There's very rarely a show where a pilot is good because they have to set up the plot, they have to introduce characters, they have to introduce a world. I mean, for a great example is last season aside, like How I Met Your Mother. I went back and watched the first pilot episode of How I Met Your Mother. It is absolutely terrible. It's absolute garbage. But that TV show was massive. Go back and look at the pilot of The Office. You can barely watch it. It is just terrible. I could pretty much every pilot that comes out, it's rare there's a good one. So I was glad that I watched the second episode, which really helped me like it more. I mean, yes, in the first episode, some of the acting there was a few parts where I was like, oof. A lot of people have complaints about little Leia showing up. I don't. I'm just kind of getting out like
I don't mind that she's in the story. I did not enjoy her acting.
Yeah, that was what
and the way that she was written was just insufferable. And then in season 2, Obi-Wan straight up says, "You don't talk like a 10-year-old," and you could tell that the show writers thought that they were being clever. They're like, "You're so smart. You don't act your age." And I'm like, yeah, that's the problem.
See, I don't think so, because going into it, like the difference between Luke and Leia is going to be astronomical. Leia was given to a powerful senator who's going to be involved in politics, so she's going to grow up like this.
She's going to be smarter, but she's also psychoanalyzing her cousin at 9, like Freudian, like oh, this is your downfall will be your hubris, and I'm like.
I think the implication there was the latent forceability that's not as obvious, but is that latent forceability.
That's what I'm
figuring out what's going on.
Yeah, that's what I was
for it too. Like she had some intuition because she was force sensitive.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get where you're coming from.
And you mix that with being a senator's daughter. Senators are interacting with people and manipulating things all the time. Like it worked for me. Like I agree with you, Court. I've heard a lot of people complain. I'd say more about how she was written in terms of like whether she was. Some people put her to the level of like bratty. I say she was just this side of it, where it made a lot of sense, especially considering this is the person who's going to, in 9 years, become the person who's going to stand up to Vader and be like, "What are you talking about? I'm an ambassador. I'm here. Oh, and Tarkin, I should have known you were here because I smelled your foul stench when I was brought on board." You know,
Yeah.
This is a sassy lady, and this is a 10-year-old that's already 10-year-olds can be really sassy, but she's smart enough and not.
They could make her likable though. That would
Yeah.
help.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I think they did go a little bit over the top. She was kind of a spoiled brat. That's why I wrote it down. Leia is a spoiled brat.
I'm getting us pointing stuff down.
But I liked it. I don't know. I thought she really, really acted the part really well. There were some of the mannerisms that she did, especially. It was like, that's Leia right there. But just the way, like, yeah, she was a spoiled brat and she was a little bit over the top and she made some stupid decisions. But I thought it was understandably so. She's just this little girl. She's brought up. She has all these expectations of you're going to be the senator one day, and she's like she's got this rebellious side to her. She's like, I want to go off and do my own thing. I don't want to sit around and
rebellious
and wait. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that carries through to the original trilogy too. Like Jared was saying, she's snarky. She was telling off Vader and Tarkin to their faces right there when she's being captured.
And Vader in particular being
she's 19 at the time, 18, 19 years old.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think
Vader,
I think it really
6'6".
I think it really fits, and also too that she doesn't want to sit around and be the victim. You know, she in A New Hope, Luke comes to rescue them, and yeah, she couldn't have been rescued without her. But she doesn't just sit around and being this damsel in distress. She picks up a gun and shoots at the stormtroopers. She's not just someone who just sits around and does nothing. She's proactive. And so I don't know. I thought it fell in line pretty good, and I agree. She was a spoiled brat. They may have been a little bit over the top with it, but I don't know. That didn't take me out of the thing. I thought she was a very well. I was very impressed with her level of acting just from being so young.
I just think there's better ways of doing it. Like you can write a clever girl without making her. I hated her.
I agree. I think she was a little bit over the top.
She was just insufferable.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
It was in addition to the way her dialogue was written, it was the attitude of I'm better than everyone else that bothered me.
You're gonna get that though.
I get it.
And we have to understand that this isn't the Leia that we know yet. She's still growing into that role, right? We've seen Obi-Wan before this point, and we've seen Obi-Wan after this point. We know where he started and where he ends up, but this is the first time we're seeing Leia. She's not the Leia that we see before.
Yeah.
But we can see little parts of it, and I think that's apparent when she talks with Bail Organa. I thought that scene was great. He's like, look, you've got this responsibility. You can't just, one day you're going to have to learn to,
be. No, I get where they're going with. I get where they're going with it. I just didn't like her.
So, I agree. That's right. I agree. And she was unlikable at certain points, but I thought it was understandably so, and I thought it was a natural progression. I think going into that, following that, I really liked these episodes. I think there were. I did have some issues with it. Some of them were there were some plot points that didn't quite connect, and some things weren't executed in the way that I would have executed them. But overall, I don't think any of them took me out of the story. I still really liked it overall. With one caveat in the second episode, if there's something else that's not addressed, by the end of the series, it's going to spoil the whole thing for me. And we can talk about that later.
Okay, yeah. Before we get into more of the details, I want to hear from Tanner and Jared. Like overall, good or bad?
I had fun. I thought it was fun. She's a cute little girl, and she's sassy, and she doesn't know better, so Obi-Wan has to teach her. And I'm a big Kumali Nanjiani fan, so when he showed up, I was like, yeah! And I thought it was funny how he was tricking people, being like, oh, I'm a Jedi. I thought that was a smart beat. Like, obviously, people would use the Legend of the Jedi to their advantage.
Except would they though? If the
Oh,
Jedi are being murdered left and right by the Inquisitors,
100%. Because if the Inquisitors came up, they say, "Hey, look, I'm not a Jedi. This is just a grift or whatever." You know.
I think they'd still kill him. But
no, I think
the fact that she doesn't kill him, though, I was like, what?
The Inquisitors, they see him as beneath them.
Yeah, the Inquisitors didn't kill his character. He just like, get out of my way, and I agree. He probably should have been mown down there.
The big thing for me is that
I do like Camille Nanjiani as well. I think he's funny.
That is also a very good hidden planet where, like Tatooine, you could be able to skate under the radar a bit. So him pretending to be a Jedi.
It seems like he could have done the same thing without the Jedi ruse and still made money off of people. Like, I don't think that the Jedi ruse was necessary at all. He could have done the same thing and got the same amount of money and not put his life in that much danger.
Why would they trust him though if he didn't? That's how he got people to trust him. Say, hey, I've got these Jedi powers. I can read your mind. I can tell you.
I think the regular people would be more scared of being associated with a Jedi than I think the negatives outweigh the benefits.
No, but these people are on the underground. They need help. They're running from the law, so they're going to someone who's outside of the law, and they know they can trust.
In particular, there was one line that I think also makes a big difference as to why they would trust a Jedi first and foremost. Because Kumail says, "Oh, especially with your son with the powers that he has," which
you're right.
He as a Force user has shown some Force sensitivity, so they're like, we need to hide from the Empire. Let's go to a Jedi who help hide us.
I forgot about that. I guess it kind of makes sense. It still seems
for 3 minutes.
What?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. We didn't let you finish your beginning thoughts.
Be more aggressive, Tanner. Gosh.
Like I said, I'm half asleep right now, so I really am. I'm being passive aggressive in my thinking here. I want to go back to. I don't know. Maybe it's because I just got to the end of the school year and I've been working hard the last 2 weeks. I think I'm getting sick of being overcritical of stuff. Yeah. It was a fun Star Wars thing. There was a cute little droid that flew around, and it was funny that Kumali Nanjiani was pretending to be a Jedi and was in over his head. And it's fun to see Ewan McGregor back. And it's like, oh shoot, Darth Vader in a bacta tank at the end. I was like, great, this is awesome. I want to see it at the end, and I want to see what happens. I think Star Wars is supposed to be dumb fun, and we don't need to criticize it that much.
Yeah. I agree.
I talked a little bit with Alan yesterday when we had the Memorial Day barbecue over here at David's house,
which you guys didn't come to.
Shame.
You were invited.
Sorry, I thought it was on Monday.
I was working. I'm sorry.
I texted today and said
you did have a Memorial Day barbecue, not on Memorial Day. So
yes, that is true. That is on us,
or maybe it's on us because you did it partially because we're here visiting from California and we'll be leaving on Monday.
They're driving home.
Yeah. Anyway, but the point that I was making was that I'm going to be approaching this a lot like the guy you had back towards the end of Book of Boba Fett, Paul, where maybe not quite a full-on apologist, but because I'm willing to talk about and discuss some of the things that I may feel like, oh, it would have been nice if they'd adjusted this. But overall, I am more eager to. This is Star Wars. I want to love it, and I know for you, a lot of times the little pieces, for you, Alan, a lot of times the pieces end up being something that keeps you from being able to love it, even though you want to. For me, I'm trying really hard to not, not that I'm trying really hard not to, but I really don't want to dislike it because it's Star Wars.
Well, I was a huge defender of the sequel trilogy of episodes 7 and 8 until episode 9 came out. I can't watch those movies anymore. So I was on board for a long time, and but I've been burned, I think.
And
I saw them in theaters, and I've never looked back. So
Yeah.
that says anything. What did Jared think about it, though? I'm interested to hear Jared.
we've talked too much. Oh,
I was gonna say you've heard about Jared's opinion. No,
others.
So I thought that they were okay. They weren't too bad. Like I felt like they did try to capture the same Star Wars sort of energy, but there were some weird things that went on. I was constantly asking questions like, for example, like when they're chasing Leia through the woods,
gosh,
why couldn't they catch her? They were literally right next to her.
It was a Benny Hill.
Yeah,
Not quite as bad
so
as the slow speeder bike moped chase in Boba Fett.
Not as bad as that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
still
not
pretty bad.
But there were little things like that where I was like, what is going on? Like they can't catch Leia, and like literally they like run up to a tree that like was divided, and they'd be like, oh, I can't get you.
He jumped through the tree, and then he runs up like he can't walk around the tree.
And I understand, like maybe
they pan
going too
out and
fast
show a wide
slipping.
shot, and he could have just gone around.
Yeah, but it's not like he slipped and like clotheslined himself, right? He just like threw himself and like chest butted the tree. He's like, oh dang it.
I agree. I agree so
silly.
much that it was not particularly well executed. My initial defense was, I mean, have you tried to catch an 8-year-old? They're squirrely and squirmy. They did not present that very well because they were right there and should have been able to grab her.
Right.
Theoretically, 8-year-olds or 10-years-olds are hard to catch because they're squirrely.
They're not.
Well, there was a couple of times like
they
that.
are
Like,
if
you
you're
have-
not trying to hurt them.
Your
If
legs.
I'm chasing my kid and I want
My
to
legs
bulldog
are
him, like
twice as
WWE
long.
grind his face into the ground, that's gonna take me like 2 seconds.
My legs.
If I
are
want to
twice as
grab
long
him
as
without
my
like,
kid.
then that's a little harder.
They were trying to kidnap her.
That is
My,
true.
my
That
legs
is-
are
that
twice
I will
as
concede.
long as my son's.
But I
could
agree
catch
that
him
the way
in like 5 seconds.
the way that they
If I gave him a-
showed that, like, oh, we couldn't catch up to her on a open plane, like the first little bit where they couldn't even catch up to her on an open like field. You should be able to, your legs are twice as long. Once you get into the tees, it could have made more sense that she was more squirrely, but then they show things like her going under something and them running up to something that barely comes up to their knees and them not jumping over it.
Yeah, they don't jump over it. Yeah, and then in episode 2, Obi-Wan is standing directly in front of her, and she runs, and he doesn't just like it shows a wide shot. She's walking past him. All he had to do was reach out an arm, grab her, throw her over his shoulder, and spank her. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna mention that because that was the other one where I was like, you literally like stood there and watched her run past you instead of grabbing her. So that's the thing. Like there were so many times where I was like, what? Like that doesn't make any sense at all. Why would you film it like that? Like I get they're trying to tell a story where she stuck past him or like stuck in between his legs or something like that. But at the same time, I'm like, that didn't make any sense.
Running through a crowd, actually, I gave a lot more credit to that because running through a crowd's another one of those ones where I could see it, and depending on how much attention you want to draw to yourself with the grabbing an arm roughly, throwing over the shoulder, whatever.
There are ways you can explain it. They could have done it well, but
I do think they could have done it better for sure. It didn't bother me, but I do think they could have done it a lot better.
Just grab her and use the force to put her to sleep and move on.
Right?
It takes a lot of effort for him to use the force now,
as we can see.
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
And that was the one thing that makes no sense that it takes him. It's hard for him to use the force.
No, I liked it. That
was the one part that I really struggled with.
No, he hadn't used the force. He's out of practice. He hasn't reached out. That's why the Jedi's go to training so that they can be in tune with the force and reach out and use the force. He hadn't used the force for 10 years.
It's a muscle.
I haven't spoken Spanish.
Can I cue up that
GIF? But I can carry on. If I had to carry on a conversation with Alan right now, or any of you guys in Spanish, I haven't used it mainstream since my mission, and I got off in 2011. So I could carry on a Spanish conversation. Would it be rough? Sure, but I could carry a Spanish conversation perfectly. I haven't trained jujitsu and mixed martial arts. My last training session was almost 8 years ago in 2017, and we had a training at the PD where I was teaching other police officers, and I was.
If you did it right now, you wouldn't have the finesse, but
Correct.
you would have the
Correct.
muscle memory.
No, dang it, correct.
So close.
I just need to play the GIF from The Force Awakens. That's not how the Force works. Like he wouldn't. She's a little girl. He could pick her up physically. It's not going to be that much harder to pick her up with the Force.
I guess here's
maybe
Let me get 2 cents off because I'm gonna have to bounce here. I've been on for 40 minutes. And then we can just do the Screen Rant articles when we don't have a ton of Obi-Wan stuff to talk about.
Okay, I'll save them.
Which is totally fine because they're good Screen Rant articles, but they'll just have to be, and they'll still be relevant next week too. But my thing is, like, I guess this, I agree with what Tanner said. I agree with what Tanner said.
You got it.
I got it.
It's not nearly as bad as Boba Fett.
And then,
it's not nearly as bad as Boba Fett, but I wish they put more effort into it because there's a lot of things that are just really sloppy.
I was not a fan of Boba Fett. Anyone who's seen this can say that, and know that I've said that. But I'm looking forward to enjoying this. I want to enjoy this unless they really screw it up. There's a few things, like I said, the Force. Going back to just a little monologue before I log off. I will agree with what Kathleen Kennedy, and this will come back around. So Kathleen Kennedy, we all know I'm not a fan of Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah.
Like Disney, if you see this, fire her, hire me, and I will make you 10 times the amount of money that she would. Because I know the Star Wars lore. I know what fans know. I know what fans want. I'm not one of those guys that's like, I have it on a pedestal. I don't know what I don't know. I can give you stuff. And I'm not going to be the guy that's like, we don't need the old fans. I would be your employee that'd be like, I will love the old fans and I will create new fans because of how, but she came out and said, we're going to move away from the Star Wars. It's a double-edged sword. She said, we're going to move away from
we talked about it last week too.
Yeah, the Skywalker legacy.
She said they're no longer going to recast legacy characters.
And not just legacy characters, but she said we're moving away from the Skywalker saga.
And trilogies,
Girl, the Skywalker saga in Star Wars lore has been done for a long freaking time. Look at the books, look at the games, look at the comics. They have not all been about the Skywalkers. You have an entire.
It never was. No.
You have a plethora of material going back to the Old Republic, the Sith, Darth Bane, Darth Nihilus, Revan. You've got so much stuff that you could do that's not Star Wars. So I do agree with that on her. I'm just like, girl, you're a little bit behind the times. Like, us fans we've been playing Knights of the Old Republic for a long time now, woman. Like, catch up with us.
Most of us.
Yeah, most of us. Yeah.
Gosh. Some of us haven't played any.
I've started it several times, but it doesn't work on my computer, and I had to do it. It took me like 3 hours to patch the game so it'll run. And then I was tired and went to bed.
See, I heard about that, but I'd also was trying to
apart from that, I'm just excited for good Star Wars stuff. I hope they don't ruin it like Boba. I don't think they have. The Force thing did kind of bug me. Going back to canon, there have been Jedi that have cut themselves off from the Force in the past, and they've been able to regain that, or they're completely cut off. I didn't feel like Obi-Wan met that criteria, especially since, is he going to start using the Force again? Because if he's weak now, suddenly he's training Luke in 9 years. When is he going to start, training? And then he fights Darth Vader. And the lightsaber fight, obviously, in the first one was very dull and boring because it was the first one and they didn't have the technology and stuff. So, but if you look back, I think someone did a YouTube video, a fan did a YouTube creation of the fight between Vader and Obi-Wan. I thought that was flipping fantastic. That was fan made and it was amazing.
It was pretty cool. A little over the top, but I agree.
A little over the top, but like it was more up to par with two Force users just duking it out, right?
It lined up more with what you see in the prequels, yeah.
Right. And I'm wanting to enjoy it. I agree 100% with what Tanner was saying. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy the ride as long as they don't get stupid and pull Power Rangers. I pray that they don't use the Inquisitors, don't use the spinning lightsabers to fly like they do in Clone Wars, because that is just the cheesiest trope.
The only reason I'll be okay with it is because they established it already in there, which was dumb. If they started it here,
I'm going to just take this lightsaber and make it a helicopter, and I'm going to just fly with like the what?
Well, the one who had the spinny lightsaber is not even in the story anymore. So
they all had
spinny lightsabers.
They all have spinny lightsabers. Okay. So I'm hoping to enjoy it. I want to enjoy it.
If it turns out that I'm right, and the ending is the third sister getting a redemption arc, would you like that?
You know what? It wouldn't bother me too much.
After she's chopping off people's hands?
Yes. It wouldn't bother me too much. The reason why what's not going to bother me too much is because Star Wars has always been about redemption. Always. There isn't an episode in Star Wars, whether that's video games, whether that's comic books, whether that is movies, TV shows. The underlying theme of almost all Star Wars is redemption. Mm-hmm. Go to the original trilogy, Darth Vader. Go to Old Republic stuff, Darth Revan. Go to Knights of the Old Republic 2, I think, your main protagonist. I can't remember what the canon name is. Redemption.
Jedi.
I'm almost done. Go to the other video game, the online one, Redemption. The main guy is Malgus or whatever it is. Redemption, and he realized that the system needs to break. The whole thing. Even the prequels were setting up that redemption. The prequels were setting up Anakin, and then even episode 9, you're looking at redemption with Kylo Ren. Yeah. So it's just that's not going to bother me. It's especially not going to bother me because you're going to have it would be very unrealistic to have someone so powerful in the Force not be caught by the Empire at some point in time.
Yeah.
And for him to it's just sheer dumb luck, and Obi-Wan is just that good compared to there is that redemption arc. So if that ends up happening where she finds out, she sees what it is, she sees her mistakes, I mean, as long as they don't make it ridiculously cheesy, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Corin. You know, Star Wars has always been about redemption, but they've done the same exact story of redemption so many times now.
I agree with that.
If she does turn, she's an Inquisitor, and she turns, right? That's the same thing in Fallen Order 2, right? You had
and Battlefield 2,
the Ninth Sister, and then
she's obviously one of the younglings in the opening scene, right? Otherwise, that opening scene serves no purpose.
Probably, yeah.
Except that it's fun to see Order 66 again. I mean, fun to see Order 66 again.
I love it. I love it. I
was really hoping they'd show Anakin in there just like slicing down fools or something.
Yeah. So my guess is she had some interaction with Obi-Wan as a trainee, and he says, "Don't worry, everything's going to be okay," and then everything's obviously not okay. So she has some personal resentment towards Kenobi. How she knows so much about him and her leap of I saw in the archives there's that Kenobi fought with what's his name
Bail Organa.
Bail Organa. They fought together in the war. I'm like, have you seen the Clone Wars? Like, Obi-Wan fought with everyone in the Clone Wars. Like,
the big reason that I'm okay with that is because it harkens more even back to the original trilogy, where what does Leia say? Years ago, you served my father in the Clone Wars. So even though we didn't really see much of that in any of the Clone Wars TV shows, like we see them interacting occasionally, but there is reference to the idea, and it comes straight from like really original stuff, where it's the idea of Obi-Wan Kenobi served Bail Organa in the Clone Wars, and therefore it could be that there'd be an extra level of connection. And I'm glad that they kept it that, not that she knew that Leia was Anakin's daughter or anything like that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. It seemed like a big leap to me. I think they might be trying to imply that she knows more than she's letting on. But
it's possible. Yes. Because
she's obviously has some personal grudge against him, which I don't know.
I thought so at first, but the more that I think about it, it's still very possible that all that's going on is she's really big on impressing Vader, and she has figured out that Vader cares about Kenobi. So it could go either way, because it seemed like she had a particular vendetta, her own vendetta against Kenobi, But the more that it went along, it makes me think it's just because she wants to impress Vader so that she can get in better favor with Vader.
Exactly.
Also, how does she know that he's Anakin Skywalker? Because
That's
that was
the
a
big problem.
that was a huge secret.
To explain that, because
I don't think that was a secret.
The Emperor
No,
kept that
it was
very
absolutely-
secret.
But see, here's what he kept it secret. But I mean, how many clone troopers? The whole 501st knew that he was Anakin Skywalker. The whole 501st. Everyone knew he was. So if you keep it secret, like that's why I know that they put that. But that's just so. You have way too many people.
After he turned into Vader and donned the suit and donned the moniker Darth Vader,
No one knew.
only 2 people that I know of knew that Darth Vader was Anakin Skywalker. One, of course, was Palpatine, right? The only other person that I am aware of that found that out was Tarkin. There was a comic or a novel, I don't remember where it came, that Tarkin found out because there's some Clone Wars episode he actually dealt with Anakin Skywalker. But Tarkin found out that that Darth Vader was Anakin, and he puts 2 and 2 together, and it's like this big, brilliant realization because nobody else knew that. Everybody thought that Anakin Skywalker died in the Purge.
So
and the only Clone Wars, the only clone troopers that actually knew that Vader marched into the temple was the 501st Battalion that was with him that became Vader's fist, right? So
At that time, he wasn't full Darth Vader either. So
exactly, he wasn't full Darth Vader. He just marched in as a Jedi, and then everybody else thinks that he died. But the only people in canon, as far as I know, that knew that he was Darth Vader was Palpatine and Tarkin, who found it out. So my issue is
that was the thing that you were talking about before,
Anakin
David.
Skywalker during Order 66 as Vader.
Yeah, so the 501st would have known for sure, but they are his personal guard, and I could see them being sworn to secrecy. Honestly, probably almost all dying because they get replaced by stormtroopers very quickly.
In fact, the
501st was the only one that remained pure. We could argue this all day. They were the only ones, even after the rebellion on Camino, and they intermixed the clone troopers with other clones and other soldiers and whatnot. The 501st was the only one that remained pure original clone troopers.
Exactly. They were the only ones that were not decommissioned, and they became Vader's. They call them Vader's fist, right?
But they knew Vader was. So I mean, maybe you're right or not, but that'd be a really hard secret to keep if you have 1,000 soldiers. Soldiers gossip. I'm part of that world.
Just a small battalion of obedient clone troopers that are sworn to secrecy.
Anyway, I've got a bounce.
Okay. But one more thing before you go, Tanner. So this is honestly my issue, because if she found out that Vader is Anakin is Vader, whatever, I don't want it to be some realization like she put 2 and 2 together and found it out. I don't want it to be like he tells her, because that's stupid. It has to be and probably related to her dealings with Kenobi in the past. But it has to be something that she knew Anakin before and finds out that way,
or saw him before,
or saw him before. Because if it is something else where she just finds out some other way, or she's like so brilliant that she figures it out, it's going to be very unsatisfactory, and it's going to spoil the whole thing for me, because that's my one big issue.
And I think they will. I hope that they will, and they can. It's just right now it's she
shouldn't know that.
So real quick before I bounce, just to address Jacob Ironside's question about the homeless 501st clone trooper didn't recognize General Kenobi. The 501st was not General Kenobi's.
They were not General Kenobi. 501st was Anakin Skywalker's.
He was a famous general.
Or was that just a clone trooper?
He was a famous general, but I mean, it's going to be, it's 10 years later. He's older. He didn't
wasted out of his mind.
He's on drugs.
He's on drugs. It's very plausible. He doesn't recognize Kenobi. But yeah, Kenobi wasn't the fight. He wasn't. The 501st was not his.
And
his
to me,
army. Anyway, I've got to bounce, guys. My wife's giving me the.
That was a 501st clone trooper, or was it just a clone trooper?
I'm pretty sure
it had the blue.
He had the blue symbol on there.
Was the one that had the blue?
Yeah,
that could be.
All right,
okay. Moving your family.
All right, Tanner's got something.
Tanner, yeah, you had a question.
Oh, I realized why I enjoyed this so much. It's because I'm a Star Wars casual. You guys talk about so much that I just don't. And I mean, I've been reading the chat a little bit. They've been saying there's character names in there I don't even recognize. So for me, it was like, yeah, this was fun because I don't. It was. I mean, Boba Fett. I was like, this is cheesy. This is not good. Episode 8 was so much that I was just like, that's not good. This is like, oh, this is Star Wars. This is fun. I like this. Like, so you got the casual fan stamp of approval on it.
Yeah. And that's something. I mean, as much as
I can totally understand that.
What we're talking about here in this show, that's the point of the show, is to talk about the perspective of us, the best gen.
Tanner's being shamed in the comments.
There's a lot.
No, I can totally understand that, and there is a lot of canon, right? And so I'm pretty forgiving if you slip up, right? And there was this comic 20 years back that established this thing that you didn't quite follow. Like what bothers me is the laziness when there are problems that are really easy to fix with just basic writing or choreography. That's the stuff that really gets to me. When I don't mind as much if you didn't remember that Obi-Wan's grandmother's name was Tinkerbell, right? Like,
but that being said, I agree with you there. And even George Lucas contradicted his own canon several times.
Yeah, there's lots of contradictions. Yeah.
Do you remember your mother, your real mother?
Yeah, exactly. Right? Leia remembers her mother, and she said she died.
She died. Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but she died in childhood.
She could have seen. She could have maybe seen visions. Right? There's ways of explaining it, but
that's why he does contradict himself. Willing to hop on the bandwagon of it is Disney that is ruining this, because there was a long time where people were like, George was the one that. George, raped my childhood by making the prequels.
He got a lot of hate for the prequels. Yeah.
So we've gotten over that and have figured out how to make peace with that to some degree or another. So that's why I'm willing to try to jump ahead to making peace with the Disney stuff, even if sometimes it's blatantly breaks canon or blatantly lazy, like a lot of George's dialogue, like a lot of George's effects. Some of them were amazing. They were groundbreaking for the time, but also there were some of them where it's like, whoa, you missed that. Yeah. So I'm kind of with you, Tanner. I get that. I do try to get into, and I really enjoy getting into some of the nitty gritty and details of stuff. But I'm with you. I'm here to have fun with it. So
yeah, you're right.
And there's a lot of new people that are not like us that can watch this and enjoy it. And as much as you may not love it because it's not doing to the franchise what you want to be done to it, like from a corporate standpoint, it's hard to hold it against them too much. I think they could do it better and still have success as a corporate entity. But yeah, as long as it's getting fans, even if it's new fans or casual fans, that's something.
As long as it's getting fans and they're not driving away the current fans,
and that's the problem.
That's the issue.
They're pushing that.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Like I said, I have little issues that that's not a show-breaking issue for me. I would just like to see it explained in a satisfactory way, and I think it can be fixed.
I'm hoping,
And then my other main issue, I guess, was the slow, pathetic chase that we already talked about.
Small side note: apparently, that leader was Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers. Random.
Oh yeah, he's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
he's not a great actor.
Yeah. That's what you needed to do. So,
the Red Hot. All right. Do you guys have any big pieces to say, or can I? Because I've got a bunch of notes of things I wrote down of things that bothered me.
Oh, we're talking about it more? I thought we were done.
I had a lot of I know that I've given my overall I liked it. To me, I am a nostalgia whore, if you will. I love the nostalgia. I do acknowledge that sometimes it can get a bit much, but I love it when you get those references. The T-16 Skyhopper that he was playing, that was a cool little reference and in joke. That some of those different things that they would do. I really enjoyed what they were doing with that. It was fun to see him call out to Qui-Gon.
Yeah,
that plays in a little bit with where I'm not 100% sure I love the way that they depicted that Obi-Wan not being connected to the Force and he was struggling with lifting Leia, because if he's not touching the Force but he's also supposed to be training, and the fact that he reaches out to Qui-Gon to me means that he's at least, that would require him to be doing stuff with the Force.
You're right.
And so
well, I really liked the recap. Like, it got me emotional. It's like, I really like the prequels. You know, they have their problems, but it got me emotional. I was like, I'm hyped for this. And they said the ending set it up for him communing with Qui-Gon Jinn, like Yoda was going to give him some training, and then apparently that didn't really happen. But
they showed a reminder that Padme after the battle, after Obi-Wan gives up on Vader, reminds him there is good in him, which will help potentially breach the Obi-Wan once thought as you did when, we never see Obi-Wan thinking that there's still good in him. We just see him as more machine now than man,
This comment highlights my biggest problem, though, with the show.
I disagree.
Well, you might be forgetting something. Like, I've got a lot of nitpicks, things that like, oh, they could have done this better. This was lazy, but this was like a huge structural problem. The third sister, and Obi-Wan is there in the town square when she says, "I am going to kill you and your entire family if you don't give up the Jedi," to Owen.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing that Obi-Wan does is leave. That was his sole responsibility, to make sure that.
That's true. Did he leave before the other Jedi was taught, though?
That's what it is, because
I get that he obviously needs to protect Leia as well, but the fact that the last thing he heard was that this crazy lady had eyes on Owen and straight up said she was going to murder his whole family, and he just pieces off without like double checking.
They could have connected that a bit better, but I agree with what David's saying, because what they were looking for was the other Jedi, Nari or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
And
how did he find Obi-Wan in the middle of the desert?
That is a good question.
Go on. That's a side note.
Just to wrap up that idea, who they were really looking for was Nari, because Nari is the one that has given himself away. Obi-Wan has stayed hidden, but it kept enough suspense around the idea of Obi-Wan getting revealed. But her saying that to Owen was not talking about Obi-Wan; it was talking about Nari. And we see they did catch Nari before Obi-Wan left. There is something to be said about they could have connected.
Still seems unwise.
Let's go double check. Let's go make sure, because at that time when she's on Tatooine, she wants to go find Kenobi, but she's not on Tatooine looking for Kenobi.
Yes.
She's like, why are we wasting our time here after this little peon Jedi when we should be out there after Kenobi? So I think it mostly works, although I could see how they could have done it better, but it wasn't an egregious thing to me.
Yeah, I agree. He doesn't agree to. He didn't want to leave. He didn't want to go help her. And it wasn't until they saw the other Jedi being hanged there that he's like, okay, you got the Jedi. He's safe. I need to go.
Mm-hmm.
And
it didn't feel like that's what they were conveying in that scene, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, but you're right. It is.
It seems irresponsible.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't leave until the other Jedi is home.
Yeah, he sees him dead.
Decided. Well, it was when he got home after seeing the Jedi that the father was there.
Showed up, yeah.
And I think really the father talking to him was probably what had more of an impact.
Right.
Than the Jedi, because he was strongly encouraged. Like he was, because he talked to him before, but then he came there and was like, "Look, you've got to go after Leia."
Yeah, and I think that's what it was, because he knew he couldn't leave. He's got to protect Luke, right? They're looking for a Jedi, and then and I love too. By the way, before we go back to that, I love they're looking for a Jedi, but Owen Lars doesn't know that they're not looking for Obi-Wan.
Yeah. Yes.
So
And he
he's
still
like,
protects him. Yes.
yeah, but he protects him, right?
But
then
he didn't do it for Kenobi.
But he didn't do it for Kenobi, right? But yeah. So he again,
What
Kenobi
Can
didn't
I-
want to go. Go ahead, Jared.
Well, so I think the clearest part for me for that was that when the father said, "Hey, you're not just supposed to be protecting Luke; you're supposed to also be protecting Leia," right? So it was like, okay, like, yeah, he's not just in charge of protecting one of these two children; he's supposed to be protecting both of them. And right now, one of them is in more danger than the other.
Agreed.
And so at least that's how I read it. Because I had the same idea, right? Where I was like, okay, yeah, he's leaving him. And I think that's what they wanted us to think, right? Is say, hey, like, you got to see how hard it is for him to leave Luke, at this point when he's supposed to be watching over him. But at the same time, Uncle Owen is literally like, hey, get out of here. We don't need you. Like, we can handle it.
Yeah.
Right. And so he's being pushed away from that side. And then he has the other side pulling towards him saying, look, you're supposed to be helping and protecting both of us.
Even though his charge, as you see in that recap, is Bail's like, oh, I'll take her, and Obi-Wan is like, oh, I'll take him. Even though Obi-Wan is not the one who is raising Luke, he does hand it off to Owen. Like, explicitly, Obi-Wan's purpose was really to be looking over Luke. This is where I kind of agree with Alan, with the idea of like, or disagree a little bit with Bail in terms of, Bail said, oh, I'll take care of the girl, you take care of the boy, and he was there taking care of the boy. But where Bail is right is that
he needed help.
I need the help, and she is, even if from Obi-Wan's perspective, because in some of the other books, Obi-Wan is convinced Luke is the New Hope. Yoda is convinced that Leia is the New Hope, and they kind of bicker about that a little bit. But Obi-Wan ends up saying because he's sure that Luke is the New Hope. But because they're both children of Vader, it's just as dangerous if she is caught and everything is revealed. So it is important that he goes after him, and it is good. Leia is worth going after, but like from Obi-Wan's perspective, it's Luke is the one that he's in charge of. So
that's true. That is true.
Yeah,
I had it.
One could be either one of them. So, anyways, I liked his motivation for going, and I didn't think it was misplaced.
I thought I had that thematically they set up that one of the main themes here is that the Jedi are supposed to help people. They set it up with the Inquisitors coming to
the Jedi hunt themselves because they can't stop being good.
I love that.
Kumali Nanjiani is able to take advantage of people because that's the Jedi are supposed to help people. This is one of the themes, and I think where Obi-Wan's motivation comes in, because you had the other Jedi telling him like, "Yo, we're supposed to help people. That's what Jedi." And Obi-Wan is like, "No, I have to survive," and that's
kind of more important process. Not just that I have to survive. I have to survive to protect Luke. Like, he knows that he has something bigger than being a Jedi, or like his calling is that bigger thing. Yeah.
But my thought was Bail Organa, played into that, telling him like, that he's hesitant to do anything else, but then he is starting to get this call to do more, to return to the ways of the Jedi, to help those in need, to help the less fortunate. And I had this thought when you were talking about the force grab and how it was shot like he was having a hard time reaching out. As I reflect on it, I see that more as he's been consciously not using the force in order to stay in hiding. And then this was
him making the decision,
and it is drawn out to emphasize the moment of he was trying to just get Leia and bounce, but now he is out to the whole, the whole galaxy. They know he's there.
It didn't look like that's what they were trying to portray, though. It
more like having to overcome a mental hurdle than an actual lack of ability or lack of current ability. But that could make sense. Although I did read it the way that Alan read it initially, but I think that works for me.
So I mean, like, oh man, why would he just abandon Luke? What I mean, like, one, we're not going to get a story. That'd be boring. Him just sitting in the desert and fighting Tusken Raiders. We all complained about that with Boba Fett. So it's
They
like,
did it right,
we
it
get a
would've been
story
great.
out of it. We get a little connection to the OG trilogy, but then there is this theme of, do you
The greater good or the lesser greater good?
Yeah. Do you stick to yourself and just look out for me and mine, or are we altruistic and we help anyone in need around us? I kind of see that as the question. You can even argue the Inquisitors, like, evil as they may be, there is a contrast in motivation between them.
Absolutely.
The third sister is trying to get her, her glory, her attention, her power, versus the rest of the organization, which is, our purpose is to hunt Jedi. That's what we're doing, and she is looking inward, rather than at the greater systemic good, if you will forgive me for a lack of a better word. But I just see thematically this is about Obi-Wan and the idea of, do you keep to yourself when you can do good? It's a very Spider-Man 2 kind of a theme.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like too that the Inquisitors are disorganized group of people. They're not, because in the comics they were found by the Emperor, and then Vader kind of confronts with them, and they're kind of they're vastly inferior to Vader.
Yeah,
is my point, right? And they're disorganized, and they're all like vying for the Emperor's attention. They're all trying to be like the
next apprentice
asset to Vader, or to Emperor, right? And potentially replace Vader in their minds, I guess. And so I really like that they're fighting between themselves, about like what's the best way to do stuff. Anyways, I don't know.
Yeah, I liked their infighting. It was interesting.
The Grand Inquisitor.
I really like that. Another thing, sorry. Did you have something, Jared? Sorry.
I was just saying, the Grand Inquisitor, the main dude, was not scary at all. In fact, when he died, I was like, "Oh, great! I don't have to look at him anymore."
I know. And in the trailer for the new video game, they have a character who's the same race, and he actually looks good.
I think it's supposed to be that character, the Grand Inquisitor.
That's the problem.
That's the same character.
It's
that's the Grand Inquisitor.
I'm assuming
in the video game.
Yes.
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad he's dead because he looked terrible and he wasn't.
I don't think he's dead though.
He's absolutely not dead because he's in Rebels, and Rebels comes after this.
It does. Yep. Oh, okay. I didn't know
like
the
a whole
timeline.
Darth Vader. I mean, a Darth Maul thing again. Okay. All right.
I didn't know the timeline of Rebels.
Yeah.
Yes.
Either that or, and this is a big stretch, they somehow replace that Grand Inquisitor with another person of the same race as the new.
Well, Disney likes to clone things in Star Wars.
Yeah, which the only thing I would like about that is it would give us a chance to be like, oh well, that's why he looks so different. This Inquisitor that we've seen in these first two episodes versus how he kind of looks in the animated series, and
well, the one that we got here,
the way that species looks in the prequels and in the Jedi Fallen Order trailer.
Yeah. The one that we got for these two episodes looked silly and wasn't scary.
His look wasn't great. It was better on the second. We're on the second planet.
Yes, the second episode was a little bit better.
If I could imagine him as some other character that wasn't supposed to be this Grand Inquisitor, I thought he did his role okay. It wasn't standout phenomenal, but I thought it was. He had that quiet kind of intimidation that he seemed like he was going for. I don't know if it really hit me very well, but like. It worked all right for me. I don't know. Yeah, that was kind of on that, but yeah.
Okay.
So circling back to the Inquisitors, I remembered my thought. There was some mention in there, and I don't remember exactly what it was. I didn't note it down, but there was something in there that says they were talking about how the Inquisitors came to be, and they said most of the Inquisitors were former Jedi, right? And
a lot of them were
conscripted
who were
fighting it. No,
brainwashed.
They said most of. Yes.
Previously, we had thought it was all, but they
specifically say most of them, and then they do acknowledge that the third sister, I think they said her name,
Reva,
which
they said she was a street rat. She was born in the slums.
She was something different, so she might not have been a Jedi. But
except
whatever,
she probably was that youngling.
She might have been, yeah.
It just makes it doesn't make sense. The opening scene wouldn't make sense if you weren't introducing a different character. Because especially because it came right after the recap, where they already recapped the Order 66.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. She most likely is, but they are implying that there's something different about her that. For some reason or another, the other Inquisitors don't respect her, and I think that's why she is so hellbent on getting Kenobi, is to gain respect from Vader and from the Emperor, because she wants to prove her worth. And
I thought that line was implying that she was one of the few that used to be a Jedi, and so that's why they saw her as inferior, because you used to be good, and so you're not as pure evil as us, or something like that. I could be totally wrong.
Yeah. No, most of them were former Jedi or former Padawans. Or
the only ones we know for sure is Ninth Sister, who comes from Jedi Fallen Order, and was it Sixth Sister, which was also the other one in Jedi Fallen Order,
and
the Grand Inquisitor himself was a Temple Guard.
Yeah,
coming from Rebels. But
okay,
so I always assumed it was most, based on the fact that the only ones that we actually do have backstory on were former Jedi. But you're right; it could be that she is one of the few. Because that's actually only 3 of them that were. But it's weird that then he's the one throwing shade at her. I do think that that's a little bit of a weird thing with the Inquisitors throwing shade at her for having ambition when they are.
Well, but they also said like her origins were like they said. Let's see if I can find the line. They said
but
like
you were criticizing her for that, being like, "Oh, you're stepping out of line.
You came from the gutter." That was the line. They said. You came to us from the gutter, and your sheer ability. So they kind of implied that she's more powerful than them. She's like, your ability can't mask your stench.
Yeah. So the thing that I was thinking from that particular line that I remembered is it seems like maybe she was a Jedi, but the Jedi rejected her because she was reckless or something. And that could explain why she's different, because she's no longer a Jedi. But then again, it doesn't make sense why you had that Order 66 flashback scene, other than to just know it because everybody wants to see more Order 66. I don't know. It's interesting.
Like, I don't mind that they showed more of the Order 66. It just, I thought they would do it to show like someone else involved, like
honestly, I was really scared that they were going to show Baby Grogu.
I was like, oh no,
this is just
Mandalorian season 4.
Exactly. Like, not everything has to have Grogu in it.
I had the same thought. I was like,
hey, give it some time.
They still might go back. They still might have another flashback, and they might have Grogu in there, but
maybe
whatever. We'll see.
I think I could have been okay with it if it was literally just like it's over there off to the corner, like, oh, hey, there.
Yeah. If it was an Easter egg, if you just see little Grogu's thing,
but
fine.
I definitely agree that I would love to see stuff without Baby Yoda. I love him. He's fine. I would have loved it if we got a whole set Mando season 3 without him, and then we get him back in season 4. I wanted to see Mando without him for a bit.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway.
It would be a cool Easter egg to see Baby Grogu's Easter egg floating.
Easter egg, yeah.
Well, I really wanted to see just like a character run by a window, and you see Anakin just like chopping up younglings, just like for a split second.
That'd be so good, so good.
Or you see it in like a security camera on one of the, you just see like everyone just mowing through.
Exactly.
So I'm looking at my notes. I didn't like in that opening scene how the Jedi, when she's fighting the first 2 stormtroopers that walk in, she whacks them like 6 times with her lightsaber, and it's the Disney lightsaber where all lightsabers all of a sudden don't do damage anymore, and it felt like the video games where she hit them like 6 times and then they fell over, and I was like, decapitate them! Come on, that's not how lightsabers work. And then the line the kid says, "What do we do now? We run." And then they all proceed to just walk very slowly. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff like that in this where I was like, what are they doing? Like, why'd they film it that way?
Yeah, I feel like in general, like people don't know how to run in like the scene where the Inquisitors encounter the Jedi in the restaurant, and they let him run away, and then it cuts to him running away, and he's like skittering. He's like, and they just let him go.
Yeah, that was another thing where I was like, oh, so they had him right there, and they just let him run away. Okay,
that fight was really clunky.
Yeah.
Would you say it's McClunky?
McClunky.
Also, I didn't get why when the ship showed up, like everyone in the town looks up like they've never seen a spaceship before.
Yeah,
and I get that they were trying to imply that it was, this is an Inquisitor spaceship, but they had them look up before it passed over, like they knew. It was like, what?
There's a dark presence about it because it.
Yeah.
So I did start to say something with regards to the Inquisitors and like the fact that I thought it was weird they were criticizing Third Sister. Well, they do criticize her for coming from the gutter. They also criticized her from about like being too ambitious, basically. And I'm like, the Sith are all about ambition, and even though these Inquisitors are not technically Sith, they are like Sith followers. So like,
that's always what it's been about.
You would think that they would not.
Like you get points, you get Sith points for killing off your master.
But the closest that like I could get that you need to like show that she is doing something different or causing a problem or whatever. But almost more like when Vader tries to step up to Palpatine smacks him down because he's more powerful and smarter. What you need to have happening when she shows this ambition, if you want to have conflict between her and her superior as the Grand Inquisitor, have him smack her down a little bit more like when he was like, no, I'm going to take credit for it. That was ambitious. But the like, no, you can't be doing things out of line. That's not okay. You can't be ambitious and reckless. Like Sith aren't reckless. Come on now. We need to be ordered and like, what? No, let her do something a little different with that. Yeah.
Okay, one of the parts that also really bugged me was so they're showing Obi-Wan at his day job, cutting up sushi, and then everyone goes home. They're dismissed for the day, and everyone goes home, and it only the last person in line says, "Hey, you cut my paycheck in half," and someone else would have said something, but that's not the part that bothers me. Is they all go home and there's still stuff on the assembly line, and I'm just like, that's not how jobs work. Like the people writing the show, they don't know how real life works, do they? Like no one. And I also hate that every show now has to just say that capitalism is evil. It was the same thing with Doctor Strange, the line that we complained about profusely with you guys have to pay for food in your universe, like,
and with Boba Fett, like, hey, there's no jobs.
This TV show wouldn't exist without capitalism. So like,
yeah, I get your point, but I think that bother me.
Also, why is his pack mule a carnivore?
That doesn't mention it's an omnivore.
He's got like a proboscis.
Yeah,
yeah.
But what kind of plant life is he eating on Tatooine?
Yeah, it's just very rare. It's very rare that pack mules are carnivores.
It is a little bit odd.
I know I'm getting real nitpicky here.
Also, this is the same animal in the Phantom Menace that farted in Jar Jar's face, and he said "Pu."
It is.
And farts are going to smell nastier if you're eating meat instead of plants. So
okay.
I thought that was a good callback to the
poor Jar Jar, man.
Also, Tanner, you're missing your calling as a Star Wars apologist because that was perfect.
Also, Kenobi definitely needs to be reported to HR. He's just stealing from his employer.
Maybe, probably. He wasn't very
nice about it. Yeah, he wasn't being very
sneaky. It was just going to be sitting out there anyways, so, I mean...
you can't take the staplers home.
Good the next day for him to go back.
I assumed that it was just they let them take a portion of meat home at the end of the day. And I also assume that maybe that wasn't the end of the day for the entire thing. Maybe it was just another shift coming in. But you're right. It was a little bit silly looking. They just leave all the meat on the table and just
100%. It's a matter of, for me as a Star Wars apologist-y type person, where it's like I'm going to find some reason or way that it at least works for me. That being said, what's shown on screen certainly falls in line with what you're saying. With like they just all leave and the meat sitting in the hot tub.
There are ways to explain these things. They just don't.
Yeah.
I also think it's super funny that they did announce the whole we're not going to recast legacy characters 2 days before they recast Leia. So
yeah, and before the show comes out,
it was like literally like the day before. Like we're done. Promise, believe us, we're done recasting legacy characters.
Completely different age bracket, though. I think that's different. You know,
although they said that in reference to Solo,
it's a joke.
I don't think that was the right lesson to be taken from Solo, especially because you then also have Lando, who was a great recasting of a legacy character.
Was amazing,
and at least theoretically, they're still going forward with some sort of a Lando project.
Yeah, no, they definitely learned the wrong lesson from that. We didn't have a problem with the recasting; we had a problem with the bad storytelling.
Yeah,
so like
and the bad marketing and the bad just decisions in general. Like, oh yeah, it lost money, but that's because they had to shoot the movie twice for a lot of other poor decisions that happened there. And if they had only shot it once, they probably would have made money as it was, let alone if they'd released it in December.
And they released it at the same time as Infinity War, I think, if I remember.
Like a month later or something like that.
Yeah, it was insane.
Anyway, so not the topic of this this episode.
Yeah, I've got the I'm looking through my notes, making sure I didn't miss anything. But the scene with Leia and her cousin. Why would her cousin have said anything about that conversation to his father? Because he wouldn't have been able to do it without insulting himself. And without yeah.
I had it. I was at school and I had a kid come up and tell me how smart he was because he figured out how to steal stuff from the vending machine. Kids are stupid.
Yeah.
Dad, Leia said this mean thing about me.
Well, what led to it? I said a mean thing about her.
Well, why did she say that mean thing about you? Oh, well, because I said that she was stupid.
I said that she wasn't an Organa. Yeah. And then they immediately were like, oh, go apologize to him, even though like he said a mean thing first. Yeah. I get it. They're being, they're teaching.
They're
the
better family. That's the thing. Yeah. I mean, parents are stupid too. I don't know. I've come across my fair share of dumb parents too as a teacher.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, and then Obi-Wan goes to fetch his lightsaber in the desert. I don't know if you guys know this, but sand dunes shift.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I was thinking you could use the Force to like feel where it was.
No,
right?
but it was buried about half a foot deep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It should have been a lot further down.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, that was silly.
As much as there were obviously not. This is not a quality of episode 9, but one of the things that was, it was dumb. That ending scene in episode 9 was dumb with Rey Skywalker, whatever. But she buries the lightsabers with the Force. By itself, that would have been fine. And if you wanted to connect to more of your universe that you've decided to have made, why not have Obi-Wan under? I guess he wasn't using the Force at the time, but I think that would have been really a cool way to
have him pop it up with the Force. Yeah, make him look cooler.
To make them connect. Like that's the thing is. You don't want to make it seem like the universe is small by always just running into the same people all the time. Yeah. But this is something that you could do that would be like, it would make it feel like it was part of the same universe and it would almost add legitimacy because people are loving this, or a lot of people seem to be liking this. And there were a lot of people who didn't like Rise of Skywalker. It almost would have legitimized Rise of Skywalker to be like, look, Obi-Wan Kenobi did that too. So it's not like Rey is so special she can do that. Anyone can.
That's an interesting point.
But was Kenobi all of the Jedi?
Did he
No,
have?
also,
Did
Ray was all-
Kenobi have 2 lightsabers? It's
He
an
did.
interesting point
Both
you
of them
bring
were
up
down
about legitimizing the sequel trilogy, because
Legitimate.
I mean, if you kind of think about it, and this is an argument that I heard from someone else, it's not my idea. In episode 1, Kenobi's entire introduction mirrors Rey's introduction from the first movie. Like she's working for a thing, and then there's a pay cut, and like he's going to. It was kind of like, oh, hey, look, he does it too. So maybe don't hate Rey Skywalker so much. Like,
yeah, you even had the magical food.
Yeah, he does the same thing. Yeah, there were a ton of parallels between that and The Force Awakens. Yeah, which
you're right.
Is I don't know if it seems like a weird choice.
Yeah. It didn't seem like it was an over the top either.
No, it wasn't beating you on the head with it for sure. No.
Yeah. But yeah, it was very silly because the sand dunes move around all the time because the wind blows and one hill moves forever. So it should have been buried a lot deeper.
It should have been buried a lot deeper to start with, and then have shifting sands that bury it deeper. Or I suppose maybe I buried it a little.
Also, it would be very hard to find where it was. Now, I just assumed that he had the kyber crystal in his lightsaber was calling to him. So
he could find it with the Force, but then he
except that he was completely cut off from the Force. I don't love that he has to be completely cut off from the Force.
Yeah,
or saying I can't do any, like maybe not using his Force abilities in a way that will cut. I just never liked the idea that the Jedi, even Luke in Episode 8, I didn't love that what his way of going away is making it so he doesn't even use the Force at all. Like he is closing himself from the Force. I didn't feel like that was necessary because in Episode 4, you see Obi-Wan using the Force, and yet he is still hidden. So it's not like using the Force is a beacon.
I would have loved to see him doing like Force push pull-ups like in his cave. He goes home, but because it doesn't make sense that he would cut himself off because his purpose here is to protect Luke, right? So he has to hide his identity. He buries his lightsaber. Totally makes sense. But then he goes home to his cave and he needs to be like getting jacked, like he's in prison, like
and being smart about
he's doing push-ups with his arms behind his back,
like Uncle from Avatar.
Blowing.
No, I wish that they'd done it that way because I think that the closest explanation you get for that is the idea that using the Force would have put him basically on the phone line that maybe Palpatine's constantly trying to tap. That he's like, ooh, somebody's using the Force over there, and he could find him.
But you also got to stay keen, so that you can actually do your job if it ever comes up. Yeah. But episode, Tanner.
I think cutting off from the Force, what I can see happening, it's not so much a choice to remain secret. Maybe he's trying to play it off like that. But I think they're implying that his guilt over not training Anakin right is what he's fallen into, like a depression.
Yeah, there was that line with Owen. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good poignant line.
Have you heard the tragedy of Owen the burner? He could burn others, but he could not save himself from being burned.
I don't know who was burned worse, Anakin on Mustafar or Obi-Wan after Uncle Owen got done with
like
him.
you trained Anakin.
I do think Uncle Owen wins the being burned competition.
He didn't make it out alive.
No, but at the end of episode 2, when the sister is like, oh yeah, Anakin's still alive, you can see, it's affecting him, and like they kind of made a big deal in the marketing that Hayden Christensen is coming back. I think they're trying to build up to that point.
They show him at the end of episode 2, yeah.
Yes, yeah, and so like I think the characterization here is, I can see it making more sense when you think Obi-Wan is saying that he has to stay and protect Luke, but he's actually depressed or afraid that he messed up.
And I think I think they do lean that direction for sure.
Yeah.
We're just focused on the other parts of it, but
I
do think they demonstrate that really well in the show.
Well, episode 2 rolls around, and there was a line in there that was so funny I had to pause it because I was laughing so hard. When he's on the streets trying to get information, talking to that girl, and she's, I'm looking for my daughter. She was taken. And her response is, I was somebody's daughter too once. and then gives him free drugs.
Yeah.
I was just like, what?
I do love how he ended up using those drugs. Very Walter White, you know.
I was
Walter White
somebody's
Kenobi.
down at 2 months, but now I'm a filthy street whore.
I agree. It's a funny line, but I think
it was so funny.
it's also sad. And she's saying like, look, you come looking for your daughter, but it's pretty much hopeless. Like, just give up.
The delivery was too funny to get me emotional. It was bad.
Yeah, you're right. Could have been delivered better.
But then, everybody bleeds. He uses the drugs, I guess, to make them do drugs.
I didn't think it was funny.
I've never been offered free drugs.
Yeah,
that's one of those funny things. Again, from our generation of the DARE programs and all this.
Yeah, if people offer you drugs, just say no. No one has ever done that for free.
I didn't even grow up in Utah or anything like that. Like, I don't know. Maybe it would be worse in Utah, but
I'm from New Mexico, baby.
Yeah,
you know, there's the place where they made a show about meth.
Yeah.
No one offered me drugs for free. That's the qualifier there.
Maybe you just needed better friends. No, I'm just kidding. No, I did think it was kind of silly in the second episode when after he's rescued Leia. And they're found out. They said, "Oh, we need to change, so they don't find us." And he takes off his current disguise, and now he looks like
more
a
Jedi.
And he doesn't get a different disguise on. I mean, I get it. I get it. It's a thing in Star Wars. Like, lots of people dress like that, but the Jedi happen to dress like. But I mean, seriously, like
to me, it was more of a reference to the fact that from the original, from A New Hope. And realizing that that's how he dressed in the prequels, it's like, oh, he was never really hiding he wasn't good at hiding.
Yeah.
They also say it like 4 times that, oh, you look old and beat up, and I'm like, he doesn't though.
Not really. They should have graded him up.
Yeah, I wish they gave him a little bit more gray in his beard.
It's Ewan McGregor. He doesn't. He looks nice. So, but they kept drilling it in like, oh, our makeup department did a good job. You look real beat up. I'm like, not really.
His beard was scraggly, but
his mullet was scragglier. He was depressed, and so you could see in his eyes that he looked old.
Yeah. But no, I agree. They should have put more gray in his beard to make him to bridge the gap between his prequel look and Alec Guinness.
I saw something that actually looked at the ages of the actors, and even though Alec Guinness looked a lot older by episode,
he looked older than he was. Yeah,
the ages are going to line up pretty close. Is about 9 years from now is when Ewan's going to be pretty close to the age that that Alec was when he played it. So
even so, I wish they'd made it look visually closer.
Agreed.
Because Ewan McGregor looks younger than he is, and
I will say the person that looked really beat up, and just because I knew what it was and knew who it was, I knew it. It didn't have any problem, but it was almost hard to recognize for me that clone trooper as the same person that we just watched another show about, and
Timur Morrison,
which was that was the point of that scene, right? He was supposed to look,
and they did a great job with that. That's kind of my point. Is they did a great job, like haggering him up to the point where I almost wouldn't recognize him besides his voice and the fact that I know this is a clone trooper, so it therefore is Tamora Morrison under that beard and hair.
That was really good. We watched it together, so we had to rewind it. Like that was definitely awesome. Boba Fett's voice, but was that actually Tamora Morrison in there?
And I knew it had to have been, but like I would not have, if I didn't otherwise know, I would not have known it. So that's good.
Yeah, and I think I've hit most of these points already. But
Well, can I just say too? I thought it was interesting because like we talked on this a little bit with like the 10-year-old where he's like, "Oh, you don't sound like
sound like you're 10." Yeah, that's because I was written by someone who's 30. But yeah.
Okay, but first off, he's like, "How old are you?" I was like, "Oh, you know how old she is."
You know,
that's true. That's true. You were there when
you were there.
You're keeping
Yeah, I
track
was
of her twin.
Why are you asking her this question?
You're right. That's hilarious.
But that crossed my mind when we were watching it, and it was just, yeah, it was funny.
Right, and then later too, the other thing with this episode is he catches her, right? So she falls down, he catches her, and then like 2 seconds later, he's down off of the high building, and he's there, and I'm like, wait.
And there were like 4 people chasing him.
Yeah,
and
all stopped shooting.
He kills one of them. He kills the T-Rex guy, and then jumps down from the building, and then they talk for like 5 minutes in the. Like,
and Reva's running at them, and she didn't look like she was that far away to begin with.
They showed her on her perch, on her Batman stoop, and you see the laser blasts going off, and it's maybe like half a mile away at most, and then you see her running for like a good 5 minutes. It keeps and then
she wasn't running. She was hardcore.
Yeah, she was forced jumping over. And then
I will say, I thought that was
under a minute.
Yeah, that is one of those things that I was talking to. I don't remember if it was my brother or somebody else that was saying the pacing and choreography of that, the blocking of it just really didn't add
lazy.
Up right. It's almost like the whoever it was I was talking to about it was saying it almost felt like they wanted to have that moment slow down of him like deciding to break and figuring out how to break through it. And so they threw out the other things that were happening right then, like the other bounty hunters that were on the roof that would have been shooting at him, Reva that would have been running at him and would have gotten to him in time while he was reaching out, let alone while he then climbed down. And
she could have just flown there.
We were literally when that happened, we were watching, don't use it.
Another reason why that moment didn't work for me of him deciding whether or not he should save this girl from falling to her death.
I don't think
he was already like in that moment. It was kind of like do I expose myself as a Jedi kind of thing? But he was already exposed. Everyone, his picture was plastered everywhere. Why didn't he start using his lightsaber? Like people already the gig is up. You don't need to keep hiding at this point.
Just the bounty hunters, but yeah.
And then Leia,
that was almost everybody on that freaking planet.
And then Leia jumps to the conclusion. She sees his hologram. She says, "Why is your picture there? They're not after me. They're after you. Why would that be the conclusion she jumps to when he's the guy that just broke in to save her? It would make sense. They say, "Hey, look for this guy. He's got the girl we're looking for."
Yeah. You're right. But again, she's a 9-year-old girl
who's written by a 30-year-old. So obviously she jumps to the correct conclusion.
Yeah. Well, actually, not the correct conclusion.
It was. She was the bait. They wanted him, not her.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that's literally what it was. She immediately jumped to the correct conclusion, which would be probably the last thing I would have guessed.
Which led her to the incorrect conclusion, which was that he was. Because she did think, they're actually.
She didn't think he was there to help. Yeah,
she didn't think he was there to help, and she also said something along the lines of, "Oh, maybe." I thought that she said something like, "Oh, you are the one that is really trying to get me. You were the one that was behind all of this." Oh no, but it did come back around to that.
She says they wanted you instead of me.
Yeah, I think there was a point where I thought that she was assuming that he had orchestrated the whole thing so that he could get her, and that's why she was running away from him. But that's obviously the wrong conclusion. So whether or not she came to that conclusion, it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
And then he's in the alleyway. He says, "We need to move," and then they walk away very slowly. I don't know why people don't know how to run.
Yeah, because none of them are.
You know what we need? We need a Tom Cruise Star Wars piece. I don't think you want Tom Cruise as a Jedi though. I think you want him as like a Cassian Andor type of like a rebel, because you do a Mission Impossible Star Wars where it's impossible. He against all odds he does all this stuff without the Force.
He also
and
somehow
he can run really fast.
He also somehow needs to be in the military, motivated by a dead father who is doing the same thing that he's doing.
Yeah.
And trying to live up to that legacy. I watched Top Gun, but also I went over to a buddy's house earlier today, and they were watching A Few Good Men, which has the same backstory for his character. His father was also a lawyer.
You can't handle the Force.
Yes. That's good.
That was good. That was good.
Well done.
Yeah.
What else you got?
That was the end of the episode mostly.
Okay.
I also love that the credits say based on Star Wars by George.
That's been there since.
I know. I just saw that and I was like, "Ooh, that's a."
So
that
there's
feels
two more
about
things
right.
that I forgot to bring up in episode 1. There were just little callbacks that I really enjoyed. When we first see Alderaan, we see they're dressing up Leia, right? And then we find out she's got a body double.
Oh yeah,
that was a nice callback.
There's no way that the servants would obey the little girl's orders over her parents' orders.
I believed it.
Okay.
You know,
I see what you're saying, but
if that happens, though, you fire them and you hire servants who you don't take orders from a little girl. That's not how that's not how it works.
There's enough. Well, again, extracurricular with the books and things like that. Ideas of the Organas are very like kind, and they have a very family oriented thing, even with all of their servants and this, that, and the other. That to me makes it work, but I do see where you're coming from.
But if she gives the servants the slip, and they're like, "Oh wait, what?" Oh, then but they were like, "Huh? I know you said this was important, but she was cute."
You're right. It's a little bit silly from the servant's perspective, but I liked that that's something that her mom did all the time.
Tom Cruise could be Han Solo's brother that we've never heard mentioned before. I'd be okay with it, maybe.
I'll call you Solo.
Yeah, he wouldn't because he doesn't have family. That's why he's called Solo. That's it. That's the Easter egg.
Yeah. So the other thing that I really liked was when Bail Organa shows up. I don't remember if it was when he physically shows up or over the hologram. I think it was over the hologram, actually. He says to Obi-Wan, he says, "Help her, Obi-Wan. She needs you." And it was kind of a nice harken back to "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope." I don't know, just little nods in there that I appreciated.
There was a lot of things like that again, as the nostalgia whore that I am, I really enjoyed a lot of those little callbacks, and they never felt beating you over the head, but there were a good chunk of them that felt like they made sense and were fun for me at least.
I thought they were a lot better placed than they have been in Boba Fett and the Mandalorian. Like, oh, look over here. Here's a Loth cat. Oh, look over here. Here's that other thing that you saw.
Yes,
oh, look
they
over
were
here.
They were
like
surprisingly tasteful with the
exactly.
And service gratuity.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. So, I really liked it. Like I said, I understand and agree with a lot of your criticisms, Alan, but I still more overall liked these episodes so far, and I'm looking forward to it. And I really, really hope they don't screw it up.
I put it on a like a Mandalorian level of like there are things to criticize and kind of piece apart. It's like, ooh, it could have been better. There could have been this way. It could have been that way. But overall, I had fun with it. Again, far superior to Boba Fett, which had some fun things, but mostly was just like this.
So disappointing.
Doesn't make
I fully recognize that at this point I'm jaded and I'm coming off of the Wheel of Time, which broke me. I'm in a depressive spiral, and I don't feel like I owe any of these companies the benefit of the doubt. I will happily be proven wrong, but like I'm not going to go in. I'm not going to. I don't have a hope. I don't have a new hope, right? I don't think they deserve my hope.
You need a new hope to come in.
I need a new hope. Oh, let's remake A New Hope. Let's do that.
No, that's the wrong one.
No, it's bad Disney.
We need an old hope.
Down. Bad Disney.
I gotta call it here, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Well,
you're gonna miss out on some bad takes.
It's always fun.
But you look real tired.
Yeah, I am. I'll try and catch them later with
Gotta catch them all.
with the VODs.
Yeah, there are only a few this week, by the way.
Oh, well,
Really?
I'm
That
still-
is
Yeah.
odd. That
I'm
is
about
very-
to fall asleep
very
again.
Okay.
So
This segment.
Thanks for
I'm
joining
not-
us, Tanner. It's been a pleasure.
bye.
Right.
Your optimism is contagious. I wanted to do a new segment. I have we'll save it for next week. All right. Okay, so we're gonna do some Screen Rants bad takes, everybody. It's my favorite segment. Here we go. Here's the sticker.
Screen Rants. Bad takes.
Okay, the first article that I have is not Screen Rant, but most of them are. It's The Guardian, that the Obi-Wan Kenobi review. Ewan McGregor's fight scenes were genuinely thrilling. The latest Star Wars spinoff from Disney Plus sees a legendary performance as a Jedi in a John Wick-esque caper with marvelous action sequences. What action sequences? Because there was one good fight scene in the alleyway where Obi-Wan did some, he like choked out a guy, and that was well choreographed. But like the only big action sequence was Obi-Wan shooting guns on the roof, and he hid behind a box and didn't move the entire time, and spent the whole scene saying, "Leia, Leia, Leia, don't jump," for like 10 minutes, and there was no actual choreography. So what?
Unless they're talking about the excellent, stellar choreography of that high-speed chase through the woods.
So there's a two-part question. What fight scenes and John Wick-esque? Have you seen John Wick? That's not what comes to mind when I watch the show. Like, I don't think they were bad fight scenes. Well, the rooftop shooting scene I did think was very bad, but there really weren't fight scenes in the show.
Obi-Wan in the drug area where he beats up those people. That was a decent one.
He throws the thing on the ground and runs away.
Before then. So when he's in the drug lab,
that was the scene I was referring to, where he chokes the guy out.
Yeah,
he like twists him around and chokes him. And it was like 30 seconds long. It was cool. It was good. That was the best. Yeah. That was the best fight scene. But
I completely agree too that the John Wick fight scene is an interesting comparison.
What fight scenes?
If you're going to compare to anything that still doesn't quite make sense, but just has one little scene that makes some sense to it, is the Breaking Bad-esque.
Yeah,
he's in a drug lab.
He literally rips off the this isn't methamphetamine. It's a big bomb crystal.
That's a much better
which
reference.
Doesn't exist. It's good. Yeah. I just think this guy's way too hyped about this show. I understand if someone really liked the show, but I don't understand his argument at all.
Yeah, don't make up false praise. That doesn't.
It's just a lie. There wasn't that. There weren't action scenes, and the ones that were there for brief weren't John Wick. So okay, here's a Screen Rant article though. Oops. Spider-Man is actually Marvel's Superman, not Sentry.
I saw that headline.
So Sentry is a Marvel character who has almost the same superpowers as Superman, and so most people say he's Marvel Superman. But this article says it's not Sentry, it's Spider-Man, because he's way more similar to Superman because it's not Sentry, and if you look, where's the line? I know. They have a lot of super. He's still talking about Sentry. He's still talking. Shoot.
While you're finding enemies, is characteristic. That end of that paragraph. I don't know.
Where's the holistic?
Yeah. While you're trying to find the quote, I think that Spider-Man is almost the complete opposite of Superman in my mind. He's he's young, he's inexperienced, he's always struggling with that responsibility,
and
right?
he's very human.
He's very, very human and makes mistakes all the time. And he
Superman's whole thing is he's trying to learn to be human.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But he's
where
already
he doesn't belong.
Perfect. He's trying to be human, but he's already like the perfect specimen of hero-ness, you know?
But all of this is talking about Sentry, and then the last line is like, but if you consider it from a holistic perspective, Peter Parker comes closer to Superman than Sentry does. Why?
What's the reasoning?
And what's the reason? Because he has compassion. That's this whole paragraph says.
But it's so unique to just Superman and Peter Parker.
Superman. Peter Parker has compassion, and he often has a personal connection to his villains.
Oh, interesting.
Ooh, again,
this is the end of the article. That's the end of. There are no other justifications. Oh, their costumes blue and red.
Okay, that's
it.
Yeah, they got a point there. Yep. They got a point there. The color scheme is close. So
Spider-Man just needs yellow?
Yeah,
no, thanks. Yeah, no.
It doesn't make any sense. Also, they don't even bring up the best argument for this comparison would be Spider-Man's mantra, with great power comes great responsibility, because that's kind of Superman's thing. He feels a responsibility to protect Earth because he's been given this great power, and that's not even brought up. First off, it's a bad argument, and they don't even bring up the best thing to support it.
A lot of the best arguments for that would be things that are pretty common to most of your general level superheroes, not your anti-heroes or your other, but yeah,
it's bad.
Absolutely, that's
so bad,
ridiculous.
What's the definition of holistic? Do you guys know? If
it's
it characterized by comprehension of the parts of something, it's intimately connected. How was that a holistic approach? Your article was 2 paragraphs long. But, here's another bad take. No Way Home secretly made Daredevil part of Iron Man's Phase 4 story. Iron Man doesn't have a Phase 4 story because he's dead. He died in Phase 3.
Yeah, what?
It's a bad take.
I think that's a typo. I think that's supposed to be Marvel's Phase 4 story. But it doesn't have anything to do with Iron Man.
Because Iron Man's in the picture, David.
Well, what the heck else does the article even say to try to defend that? Because the title, you're absolutely right, is complete garbage. That makes no sense.
So Matt Murdock makes a cameo in No Way Home, right? As Peter Parker's lawyer, and he has a warning for Happy Hogan, and Happy Hogan is in the Iron Man movies.
There you go.
Robert Downey Jr.'s fate. This is just talking about Spider-Man, right? Getting revealed in No Way Home, and then Matt Murdock shows up, right? But it literally doesn't say. It just says the connection with Happy, who's connected to Stark Industries.
It doesn't make any sense.
Iron Man's Phase 4 story, like Armor Wars,
which we haven't seen yet. But again, since Tony's dead, that's going to be kind of weird.
He's dead. They are doing an Ironheart show.
Yeah, I was going to say,
but that's not Tony Stark.
Tony Stark. So if you're going to go with whoever picks up the Iron Man mantle, and again the Iron Heart,
this article doesn't say anything.
But then the actual connection between Daredevil and the Iron Heart, Iron Wars stuff is still non-existent because we don't have those properties yet.
He said the only thing that it's the last sentence right there.
No reason why he couldn't.
There's no reason why Daredevil couldn't be Happy Hogan's lawyer in the Disney Plus adaptation of Iron Man.
But that's not Iron Man's Phase 4 story. That's Happy Hogan.
You're right.
I read this article and I still don't understand it. I know you're asking me questions. Well, what's their argument? And I don't have an answer because I don't know what their argument is.
Yeah.
Their argument is we are a farm. You know, what was content farm?
A content farm. That's right. Yeah. We're putting word salad in the title, so you click on them. It's a bad take. Here's a good one. MCU's X-Men setup secretly began 11 years ago in Captain America 1. No, it didn't. Because they couldn't. That's why they made Wanda and Quicksilver
miracles,
not mutants.
Right.
The reason they give it is because there is one throwaway line in Captain America where is it? Where they mention Amarillo or something like that. I can't find it. They mention a place, Alamogordo. Yeah, Alamogordo. So there's a throwaway line where they mention Alamogordo. She says, "You're an experiment," talking to Captain America. "You're going straight to Alamogordo." And in one of the X-Men comics, Professor X, his grandpa worked at Alamogordo, and that's where the X-Men came from. And then their last line, their last line literally says it.
Same as the last article.
Yeah. So oh, no, it's not the last line. So they even admit that they're lying. They say, "No doubt, this was only intended as something of an Easter egg."
Yep.
Yeah. It was a throwaway mention, like, "Hey, that's maybe an X-Men thing, but we obviously can't say it because we don't own the X-Men."
Well, it was literally just to like, hey, that's a name from a comic book that we can actually use.
So they say we know that this wasn't their plan; it was an Easter egg. But Marvel Studios could repurpose that Easter egg to justify the X-Men in future films. That's not what you're saying here.
Yeah. Right.
This should read, the MCU could use a very obscure Easter egg to justify the X-Men's existence.
But that's
that's the opposite of what...
Honestly, that's even still a pretty decent...
That would be a good article!
And like, honestly, the content of the article could almost be the exact same. But you just put that title on it. It's still not quite as clickbaity, but it's like, it's interesting enough to want to click on and not be bait. It'll actually be somewhat of a snack, not just
this
bait.
Is a lie, and they know that it is a lie.
Yeah.
The actual thing that they're talking about is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But they can't actually, they just don't know how to not lie.
Yeah. But you're right. There could have been a way to phrase that title in a way
that could be very clickbaity. Yeah. People would still click on it.
Like X-Men could possibly retroactively have been mentioned in Captain America 1 or something.
Here's how you can justify X-Men's existence from Phase 1.
This throwaway Easter egg from Captain America 1 could explain or could retcon
X-Men.
the X-Men or whatever. Could retcon the X-Men in the MCU.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. They just don't care. They throw out whatever thing.
This is a two-part. This is a two-part. We are farmers.
3 minutes apart, by the way. We are farmers.
Well done.
Well, yeah, that was good. That was really good. Yeah. Good stuff. It's a bad take. Here's another good one. 10 movies where you solve the mystery alongside the characters. Movies may entertain, but some prompt fans to think, analyze, and even solve the mystery alongside the characters. And these are 10 that do just that. Guess what the list is? It's a list of murder mystery movies. You can just say that. Here is a list of 10 of our favorite mystery movies. What does that mean?
Yeah.
What does this even say? Did you know that in some movies? Did you know in some movies there are mysteries, and sometimes you can watch the movie and not know what the mystery is? We don't know what the word for that is, but here are 10 movies where that is the case.
They want to teach us what the meaning of that genre is.
Yeah.
Apparently. Why? Because they think we're dumb.
Go watch one.
I don't. Also, have you seen Old?
No.
It's an M. Night Shyamalan. There is no mystery, really. they tell you what the thing is in the first scene, and then at the very end you get, here's the little twist. But like, it's not a mystery movie. It's kind of just a thriller.
That's why it's kind of a
psychological thriller. It's not a mystery that you solve along the way.
Tell me at least that number one is Clue, right?
No, there's a Simple Favor, which was a mystery, and here's a slasher movie where the reveal is a really obscure twist at the very end that no one could have ever guessed. The Death on the Nile, which was a very bad movie, and I really liked Murder on the Orient Express. It's just that the cinematography and direction in this movie was awful, and I feel really bad because it was Kenneth Branagh, and I like a lot of his work, but he did not do a good job with this one.
Which is weird because he also did the other one. He did both of them.
The acting was fine, but the cinematography was awful in this movie. It was so bad it pulled me out.
The same director did both of them and did well in one and did poorly in the other. Wow.
Yeah.
That's disappointing. I haven't seen that one, but I was looking forward to it. So
my wife and I we almost fell asleep. It was bad. Nonstop is an action movie.
Yeah, that's not really.
There's not really a mystery on this note. It's a plane that gets like hijacked. And then Searching, that one's a mystery. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Escape Room, which there's not really
good.
I heard good things.
No,
about
but is it a mystery that you solve?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
There's a mystery of the escape room and who's behind it and why. And it's a silly movie, but I really enjoy that movie. It was fun.
There's Game Night, and that's a comedy, and then Murder Mystery, which is also a comedy, which makes fun of murder mysteries. And you can't actually solve the mystery of these because they're parodies of the genre, and so they have twists that don't make sense on purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then Knives Out,
which was a good movie.
That's a good movie.
Yeah.
But again, so again, there were 3 or 4 of these that were like solid mystery movies or some degree of murder mystery, but you still come back to the like, so thank you for telling us what a murder mystery is.
Yeah.
And then they don't even get that right.
Half the time there's not a whole lot of mystery in those. Well, what would be a more interesting list, I think, is there's sometimes when there
are some murder mystery movies where the twist comes out of nowhere, you can't see it coming, and there are some where if you pay attention you can figure out how it's going to end.
Exactly.
Do a list like that, say, hey, here are 10 murder mysteries where if you pay attention you'll know who did it,
where the audience could solve it before the characters.
Exactly. That would be an interesting one. But anyways,
okay.
A couple more bad takes.
We've got one more bad take. It's not from Screen Rant. It's from George R.R. Martin. He just did an interview where he said, talking about the Lord of the Rings of Power, I don't understand how people can come to hate so much something that they once loved. And he's saying, look, if you don't like the Rings of Power, don't watch it. You don't. And talk about someone who is completely out of touch with his core audience and fantasy in general.
And what happened with his own franchise?
Look. I don't think he fully understands either that the Venn diagram, I'll bring it up, of Lord of the Rings fans and Game of Thrones fans is almost just a circle. Okay?
Just about.
There are very few people who like fantasy who only like one of the two things.
Mm-hmm.
So he's insulting his own audience here.
Yep.
Right.
That's so clueless. We don't.
Not only that too, but people that loved Game of Thrones, both the books and the shows, right? When the last season came about, they didn't have any books to base it on, so they had to make it up. And the fans,
which was his fault.
And it was his fault. And now
Yeah.
he's so
The
now
reason that
in
they
this
hated it
article,
is because he
changed-
didn't finish it, and the reason that
Exactly.
people are not excited for the Rings of Power is because they're not interested in telling Tolkien's story. They're interested in telling their own story, which would be fine if they wanted to tell their own story, but they're slapping Tolkien's name on it.
Exactly.
IP sells.
And so that's what's frustrating about that statement from George R. R. Martin is he's admitting that it's not his fault that people not only like the Rings of Power, but it's not his fault that people didn't like the last season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It's like,
He's like the Rings of Power isn't even out yet, and people online are acting like it's World War II, and I'm like, yeah, because
we're passionate about it.
I can't understand why people who liked a thing would not like a thing being destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
As we were talking about, like my wife,
I don't get it. Why?
My wife will often say the people who hate Star Wars the most are the Star Wars fans, and but we talked about this the other day. Just that it all traces back to it's because we care about it. We want it to be not just it has to be exactly what we think.
It's because we like it that we're upset about it being ruined.
Yes,
and even just that direct quote there,
understand.
like it. Tons of times people come to hate something that they once loved. I mean, have you heard of divorce? Like it happened. Like from whatever perspective you want to take it, that
I know. Yeah, if you just take it very general, like divorce happens.
Yeah,
I don't understand. Why don't my parents talk anymore?
I used to love drinking I'm weird. I used to love drinking the remaining liquid after olives, like just the remaining olive juice or whatever. Weird, but it's like
that's disgusting.
So I could come to hate something that I once loved. Yep, there we go.
That's a good point. I loved butter, lettuce, and cheese sandwiches when I was a kid.
Did we lose original Jared?
We lost Jared, but I wanted to point out that what's funny is his explanation explains the answer. His justification is like, if you don't love it, then don't watch it. I'm like, well, yeah, if your parents don't love each other anymore, then, but I don't understand how it could have happened. I don't understand why they're not going to watch the show because I told them not to watch it if they don't like it.
Nope. Yeah.
So, yeah. I think most people assume that he's just never going to finish the books because he doesn't really care about them anymore.
I don't think there's any incentive for him to finish the books anymore.
No, he's filthy rich.
If he writes it the same as the show, they're going to complain. If they write it different than the show, they're going to compare it to the show, and then either hate the show more or hate the books more, and say you couldn't even do a better job than the shows did. It's like there's no incentive for him to finish.
Yeah, it is a no-win scenario for him. When you have someone like a Brandon Sanderson who wrote 4 books over quarantine, and you have this guy who has taken, 10, 11, 12 years since the last one came out?
Yeah. 11. I think we're coming up on 12, yeah.
He's been at least been they did a little bit of consulting with him on the Wheel of Time. I don't know how much, again, he gave notes, but they didn't have to take them. Most of them they didn't take them. And like all these other things where it's like, what? Like how can this guy be doing so much and you have done so nothing?
Yeah, no, and the updates that he gave, the latest update that he gave, and I don't know. Jared said his computer died because he didn't have it plugged in. He's coming back.
I saw him struggling with that freezing before he left.
He occasionally gives updates. He's like, hey, I've been the last update he gave. He says I've been writing in Bravos, which is the last place the book ended. That's the location where Arya is getting trained to be a ninja, and that's like the ending of the last book he published, which means he hasn't worked on anything.
Maybe he's doing rewrites at that point, or did they get back there in his version?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the series either but a lot of people have talked about it.
I think even if he does want to and is still motivated to go and finish it, there's an enormous amount of pressure on him to make a better ending than the shows.
I totally get that.
But which the ending of his books aren't different. They took the ending that he told them. They knew how it ended. The problem was how they got there was lazy with the show. So the ending's going to be the same.
Probably, although he could decide to change it because people. Well, the reason they probably didn't end up liking it was how they got there, and it didn't feel satisfying.
Yeah. But the ending of the TV show was the ending he originally planned. It's just that there was a lot of loose threads that were
because people disliked it in the show. I think that the overall consensus, the overall feeling is that people don't like the way that it ended, even though that's not really how it goes. And so maybe he will change it because he's like, oh, they don't like the way it ended. He could.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, I always end bad takes by bringing up something funny because otherwise I'll get sad. But here's a good meme from the Babylon Bee. Go and spend no more. Dave Ramsey tells the woman caught in credit card.
Wow.
That's good.
Oh, it's good. But also, there's a little bit of a silver lining because Screen Rant on YouTube has been posting memes that are actually kind of good. Now, granted, they are just stealing them from Reddit, but they're telling jokes that I like, that have opinions that I didn't think Screen Rant would have. They kind of contradict their articles. But this is hilarious, right? Marvel tells me you're brilliant because the Spider-Verse was amazing, but they also tell me you're lazy. Talking to Sony, great meme. There were a couple other good ones. The floor is lava because he got burned up by lava. It's a funny joke. Okay, they're making fun of Netflix, right? You were supposed to save cable, not become it. It's a good joke. Yeah. It's a good meme. So there were a couple funny ones that I this one I really liked. Scarlet Witch in the Multiverse of Madness. Yeah. Don't you mean Doctor Strange? No.
I would say that my problem with the title of the movie is not whether it's Doctor Strange or Scarlet Witch. It's the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah,
it's more like Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch.
And two verses,
that
are kind of wacky,
but
they're not
wackiness with Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange.
Yeah. This one was funny though. Marvel fans, after sitting through 20 minutes of credits just to watch a 10-second post-credit scene, but it's wrong. I fixed it for them. Here, there we go. So
9 minutes.
I fixed it. It's 200 minutes of a movie. So because that's the most. So that's Screw Aspect. Thanks, everybody.
I never understood the criticism. There were people that hated the post-credit scenes of Doctor Strange, not because of like the reasons you guys hated the post-credit scenes with Doctor Strange, because they were like, "Oh, it was so pointless. Why did I sit through so long of that?" And I'm like, didn't everybody love? Maybe they didn't, but I thought everybody loved like Homecoming when we sat through the 20 minutes of credits to see Captain America give us a lecture about patience.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's great.
That was awesome. And so you get
Ferris
the
Bueller moment,
and then the Ferris Bueller moment in Ferris Bueller itself and in Deadpool. Like that's what you get when you're going for it. And so, aside from the commentary that was happening with the final post credit of Doctor Strange, I thought that the like looking in the camera and goofy Sam Raimiism of "It's over" was a fun little gag. Was it worth the 20 minutes of credits? Maybe not, but it was fun.
Yeah, my point is that they're less worried about making interesting movies and more worried about setting up what's coming next.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's another thing that's problematic, I guess, with the whole MCU. Even before, I think they're kind of a little bit directionless right now. But even before, if there's a movie that I'm not so interested in, I kind of am motivated to go see that movie just because of how it ties into the rest of the MCU. And that's a little bit unfortunate, I think. So
smart money making.
Yeah, it's smart. It's smart, but
it can be frustrating.
I don't like it.
Yeah. I'm being manipulated, and I'm going to let it happen, but I'm not going to be happy about it.
Exactly. I think it's gotten to the point where it's backfiring though, because now people are like, oh, if I want to watch Doctor Strange, I have to go watch all those TV shows. I'm not going to bother.
But at least the TV show was good. I like the TV show.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely it worked when they started doing it, and it's not It's doing the opposite of what it's supposed to be doing now.
I think it's starting to tip that way. I think though that all in all, you can't say anything but that it has been worth it for them, even if it from here just completely tanks. They've made so much money and so much off of that.
Oh yeah,
that it's worth the next from the corporate perspective. It's worth another 10 years of middling to no profits for the amount of profit that they made on that. So
yeah. Well, they're gonna milk it. They're gonna milk it till it's dead.
Yep.
Which is sad because they could just keep making good stuff and keep making more money.
But could they though?
Apparently, well, not with these writers. So, yeah. Well, we talked about Star Wars and we did some bad takes. Thanks for joining us, Jared. Too.
Oh,
you said you're trying to catch up with Raised by Wolves, right? But you're not to where we are.
I was really focused on trying to get the first 6 movies of Star Wars rewatched to kind of make sure that there was any. Which I mean, that wasn't a punishment in any way, shape, or form, but definitely was something that took up a lot of time, and I did not manage my time well enough to then get caught up on Raised by Wolves as well.
Well, I like that you're interested, and we'd love to have you back to talk about the rest of the Kenobi show as week by week. How long? We've been going for 2 hours. I think we could pretty quickly talk about episode 3 of Raised by Wolves, though, because there's not a whole lot of like deep stuff in this episode. It's mostly just moving the plot forward.
And as much as I love not going into things without spoilers, I'm not too concerned about spoilers. So even if you guys do spoilers, I'll be fine with it.
Yeah. Okay. You're welcome.
I didn't have time to watch it.
You didn't watch it? Okay.
But I'm okay with you talking about it anyways.
Well, and we could definitely save it for next week because we've been going for a while, and
if you're having me back next week, I will have definitely had a chance to catch up by next week.
It's so good. It's so good.
It's really good. There's a lot of sci-fi shows out there, and a lot of them, some of them are weirder than others. And Raised by Wolves is, among the weirdest of them. But I consistently come back for Raised by Wolves because it answers questions just enough, but leaves you hanging.
And it cares about the small details.
It cares about the small details. It's so well crafted, and I feel like all these other shows, they just throw a bunch of stuff out there, and it's just a big, confused, jumbled mess. And they're not concerned about answering every single little, plot hole that comes across. And I think Raised by Wolves is so well crafted and amazing, and gives you just enough answers, but keeps adding more and more questions on there just to keep you on the hook. And it's just a perfect balance. So
it's also just a really good story.
It's a really, really good story.
It is interesting because looking at the thumbnails, I look at it and I'm like, this seems like a really weird show. I don't know, but I had heard beforehand that like it was really good, and then everything you guys are saying is definitely high praise and is making me excited to go check it out. So
I did have a couple production issues in the first couple episodes, and then I think even though it's gotten better, those complaints have gone away. In this second season, there's a little bit of CGI that's a little bit wonky, but other than that, it's
the second season was affected by COVID.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you got to embrace,
but it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah. You got to embrace too sometimes the TV show budget for CGI versus movies.
True, we're spoiled with all of these high budget shows now, but historically in the past, TV shows did not get the budget that other shows and movies got until Game of Thrones really stepped up the mark for TV shows, and now we're finally seeing TV shows map.
Jacob asks, is mother and father going to get a divorce in Raised by Wolves? Because it looks like the robot regrowing itself is female. Well, you will have to watch the end. You will have to finish season 2 because it's good.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited
I will say that we'll talk about it next week in more depth, but in episode 3, Father becomes Daddy. Because he's so good. He's so good in episode 3, baby.
Yeah, he's consistently my favorite character in the series. He's so fun and endearing.
Does he become Daddy or does he become Zaddy?
I don't know what that means. He's a robot daddy. He could be my daddy. So
you'd let him spank you?
Oh yes. It's real good. It's real good. Watch Raised by Wolves. Sorry if you stuck around this whole time hoping we talk about it, but apparently it would just be me and Jared, which is it'll be entertaining, but we'll save it for. It's been a long episode, so go get some sleep. Go to work tomorrow and find someone you love and hold them close.
Unless you're in the U.S. and you happen to be off on Memorial Day, then don't go to work tomorrow.
Oh yeah, don't go to work tomorrow. It's Memorial Day, right? I forget because I don't have a job. It's just a regular day for me. I'm going to be editing video just all day long. Yeah. I love having you guys on. I love doing the show. It's a lot of fun. Thanks for we got a lot of comments this week. I read most of them. Some of them were going really fast though, and there's a lot of passionate Star Wars discussion. I'm going to go back and read all that stuff. Yeah, robot fight. Yeah, that's when Father becomes Daddy. Yeah, he does. He has a fight. He has a fight scene. It's good.
I look forward to watching it.
Father's awesome. Raised by Wolves. Snake babies. Bye. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next week. Tell your friends. I want to do a new segment where we solve your problems. If you air your grievances, maybe. We're like, we'll on the panel. We'll tell you who's right and who's wrong. Because I've got a funny story I'll share next week. Okay. David's already heard. But I think it'd be a fun segment if we have like a tribunal of nope, you're in the wrong, you need to apologize, or you're in the right, you're justified.
We can call it Bail Organa Corner, where he's telling Leia that nope, you need to go apologize.
All right, it'd be funny. I don't know if it'll. I don't know. We'll see. I'll make a stinger. Air your grievances, baby. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.